Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video of Keep It Simple Stupid. Sorry, I've been super busy, haven't made a video in a while, but wanted to come back and make a little something for you all. This should be pretty quick, short and sweet here, but this video is going to describe, what is the difference between hypoxemia and hypoxia, made simple. Now, I was asked about this when I was on an ICU rotation and I didn't know the answer, so I thought it'd be helpful to break down these two terms and their definitions so that you will be able to understand the difference between the two. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. First and foremost, we're just going to cover the basic definitions. So what is hypoxemia? Hypoxemia is a decreased amount of oxygen in the blood, while hypoxia, down here, is a decreased amount of oxygen in the tissues. So now that we understand the definition, so how do you tell the difference? And what do you need to see clinically to decide if it's hypoxemia or is it hypoxia? So let's go ahead and get into it. So first, we're going to go ahead and start with hypoxemia. So as I discussed, this is a decreased amount of oxygen in the blood. And now that we know the definition, we can understand that there's an objective way to measure this. And there's a couple ways you could do it. So it could be through an O2 monitor, or you could measure it on an ABG, which just means arterial blood gas. Now, severe hypoxemia, the definition is going to be a partial pressure of oxygen less than 55 millimeters of mercury, or a PaO2 equal to or less than 55. Okay? And then on a pulse ox, right, so that little thing that goes on a patient's finger, and then on the monitor you can see their O2 sat, that is going to be less than or equal to 88%. All right, I hope that makes sense. So hypoxemia, that is your objective measure of oxygen in the blood with an arterial blood gas or on pulse oximetry. So that brings us on to hypoxia. Now, the thing about hypoxia is that it cannot be assessed directly. So I frequently hear while I've been working and as I've learned to better understand these two terms is that when someone gets placed on a pulse ox and they show that their O2 sat is 75%, they'll say, oh, this patient's hypoxic. Well, technically, no. They could be hypoxic, but actually they're hypoxemic, right? And the important thing about hypoxia is, like I said, it cannot be assessed directly, but it can be assessed indirectly through things like a lactate, right? And then signs of end organ dysfunction. So if we were thinking about the liver, we'd be looking at coags, LFTs, bilirubin. If we were thinking something neurologic, maybe the patient's altered, maybe they're not perfusing the vessels and the cells in their brain. Cardiac standpoint, maybe that's related to a troponin. And then from a renal standpoint, you could think about creatinine, GFR, and then of course measuring how much urine a patient is producing. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. I hope that this has helped you better understand a little bit the difference between hypoxemia and hypoxia, as before I made this video, I didn't have a great understanding of. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. If there's any other topics you'd like me to make specifically, please let me know, and I'll see you guys next time.